Hi, it's Kristen. Welcome back for another DIY video. I'm super excited to share with you today how to make this brand new punch needle design. I'm going to be walking you through all the steps to create this design. As I walk you through step by step, I'm going to be sharing tips and tricks to make sure that your punch needles turn out perfectly every time. And also in this video, I'm going to be giving away an entire punch needle kit, which is going to give you everything that you need to make your own punch needle design, just like this one. So make sure that you watch the video to the very end to find out the rules and how to enter. Before we jump right into the step-by-step video, I would love it if you would just take a moment and give this video a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. I always respond if you have questions or if you plan to try this project. I would love to hear from you, so leave me a comment down below so we can chat. All right, now let's get into the video. All right, so our first step is going to be to use a felt tip marker to go ahead and trace the pattern onto the monk's cloth. For this up here, if you're following my pattern, I'm only going to trace the top of this and the bottom of this, because this is a cloud that carries on this way and this way. So I'm kind of doing, like, as you can kind of see, the cloud kind of goes like that. I kind of went a little far there, but that's okay because the yarn will cover it. Even if you went ahead and filled in this part, the yarn's going to cover that anyway. So next I'm going to move on to the sun. I'm just going to again do the outer part of the sun like that. And then let's do the mountains. We're going to do the top portion of the mountains like that. And then we're also just going to do the top. And then we're also going to do like that. And then we're going to do just the top of the hill here, or the like smaller green mountain hills. Now we're going to take our stencil off, and we'll need to finish filling in the tops of the mountains here. So for this one, we're just going to kind of come down a little bit and then across. For this one, we're going to do the same, down and across, just like that, to kind of mimic the way this looks here. And then this one is going to be the same, down and up, just to finish off that shape there. Then the next thing is going to be to fill in the cloud here. So the cloud's going to come across and continue through, like, across this mountain here, like one continuous thing, and then it's going to just kind of come down here and then right here. So we're going to kind of ignore that right there, that I went a little too far there. But everything else is ready. Oh, we can go ahead and fill this in. And now it's, oh yeah, and finish off this mountain, the mountains here. Just like that. All right, next we need to go ahead and put the monk's cloth onto our embroidery hoop. So I'm going to start by putting the plain part of the embroidery hoop down and kind of try to get it centered here. It's okay if some of the cloud kind of goes off the edge. It was kind of designed to make it look like it is going off the edge. So that looks pretty good. Just make sure you have it nice and centered, and if it's not the way you want it, just take it off and try again, basically. So I'm going to start tightening up here the little screw piece and get it nice and tight, and then we'll go around and tighten the monk's cloth. This is one of the keys to making the punch needle process just a lot easier, is if you have a nice tight base to work with. So we want to just go around and pull it all evenly tight, and it's going to make the actual punching process a lot easier. All right, so that looks pretty good. The next thing we're going to do is for this particular design, we're going to be punching from the front and the back. So we need to go ahead and trace the same pattern on the back, so that way when we're doing the punching from the back, we know exactly where to go. So I just like to hold it up to the light and use the same pen that I used earlier, and then just trace along the lines that are on the monk's cloth. All right, so I have the back of it all traced, and so here's our front, and then here is our back. So in my other punch needle tutorials, we punched from the front, and that's going to give a more flat appearance. It's not going to give you the loops that you often see in punch needle, but for those other designs, I wanted kind of a neater look. For this one, we're going to create a little bit more texture and interest, and so I want to punch from the front and the back. So for this design, what we're going to do is, in order to get the loops and like a bigger, more like textured design, we're going to punch from the back on our clouds. So these is our two white places. We're going to also make like the snow caps, which will be white. We're going to do that from the back of the punch needle. And then we're also going to do our green hill down here, or grass, from the back. So that's going to give it more of a looped, textured look. For the mountains here and the sun, we're going to be punching from the front. So I'm going to start by punching from the back, and you'll kind of understand what I mean as we go. I'll show you the difference between punching from the back and punching from the front. My goal here is to share, of course, just how to create this punch needle, but if you're interested in a complete kit that would come with everything that you need to make this punch needle, along with others, I have tons of options in my Etsy shop. You can buy a kit in my Etsy shop. You can also just buy this pattern if you want, but there are options where you'll get the cloth that you need, your hoop, your punch needle, the pattern. I even give you all the yarn that you need. So if you're interested in that, you can go to the link in the description box. I'll put it on the screen as well. It's etsy.com/shop/dashinganddainty, and you can pick up your kit or your pattern over there. So if you buy a kit from me, then your punch needle will come with a nice little threader, but I lost mine, and so I'm using just a piece of floral wire, kind of like doubled over here. And what we're going to do is go into the hole on the end of the punch needle, and then we're going to go down through the punch needle, stick it all the way down. Just be careful not to poke yourself with the end of the punch needle. So we're going down until we see the loop come out the other end, and that's where we're going to thread our yarn through. So I'm going to start with the white, like I mentioned, stick it right through like that, and then we're going to pull the threader or the wire right back up through, so it comes through the punch needle and then through that hole there. The next thing I like to do is just pull out a bunch of yarn, because it's critical when you're trying to do punch needle that there is no tension on the yarn. If there's tension on the yarn, then it's going to pull back out of your monk's cloth, and that of course is not what you want. I've gotten a lot of comments about people saying mine just keeps pulling back out, and I mentioned it in other videos, but of course I'll mention it again, that you want to make sure that you have a lot of slack in your yarn, or else it will pull out of your monk's cloth. All right, so we have our needle threaded and ready to go. So we're going to start, and I'm going to start with the clouds. I'm going to start on the smaller cloud up here. And I have my punch needle on the shortest setting. So if you buy your kit from me, like I said, you're going to get this punch needle, and it comes with different settings. So if you want larger loops, you can go larger like that. But we're just going to do, for this one, the smallest loop, which is on D right there. So let's start just by going right into this cloud here. Just like that, just punch through, keeping the needle kind of, when you pull back through, keep the needle kind of touching the cloth so you don't create larger loops and things then, or basically it keeps everything nice and uniform if you just keep it touching. And now we're going to start curving across. All I'm doing is just finding the little holes and punching into them, and keeping my punch needle touching the monk's cloth as I go. I'm going to do this all the way around the edge of the cloud here, and then I'm going to start filling in the center in the exact same way. And if you feel your monk's cloth getting loose, which it will, just set it down and pull it tight again, and then just keep going. Okay, so I've completed all the way around the outside of the cloud, and now I'm going to just go right next to that first line that I created and continue all the way around the cloud again until I get the entire thing filled in. All right, so once you've completed that part, it's always nice to go ahead and look on the other side and make sure there's nothing obvious, no spots that you missed. And if everything looks good, then we'll go ahead and flip it back over. You'll pull out a little bit, cut off a little, and leave like a little bit of a tail there, just to, I don't know, just for good measure. Make sure that it doesn't come unraveled, that kind of thing. And then you're ready to move on to your next piece. If you are using, of course, a different color yarn, then you would switch out your yarns. But I'm going to move on to the cloud, and then I'm going to do the mountain tops here, and then we'll switch colors after that. One important thing to note is that when you are punching, you want to make sure that the open side of your punch needle is facing the direction that you're going, instead of it, you know, facing backwards or that kind of thing. Just make sure it's facing the direction that you're going to keep everything just nice and neat, and it just kind of works better that way. All right, so we've completed the clouds. You can see here how it gives that, what I was talking about, those loops. It gives it just like this nice texture. And so you'll see what I'm talking about when we move on to the mountains and the sun. But let's go ahead and do the snow-capped mountain part. Again, we're going to be punching from the back for this because we want that larger, more like fluffy appearance. So I'm going to turn it over, and we're going to begin our work. Cut this so it's not in my way. We're going to begin on this snow-capped mountain here. So if you purchased my kit, then you would have gotten this color in it. So I like to use this color for the largest mountain because things are generally lighter the farther away that they are. So we're going to go through our blue colors, and we'll do the lightest, and then we'll do the medium blue, and then the darkest blue over here. So again, we're just going to thread our punch needle the exact same way that we did before, going through the hole in the top and then down the punch needle. Like that. And in goes our nice light icy blue color, and then pull it through. And as I mentioned, we were punching through the back, and now it's time to punch through the front to give just like a flatter, kind of neater look. But before I do that, I'm going to go around and just make sure that the punch needle, or that the monk's cloth, is nice and tight in the embroidery hoop. Because we're going into the front here, we don't want these strings sticking out. So what we're going to do is, as soon as we punch in, we're going to flip over and pull that string onto the back. So that way it'll be hidden when our piece is done. And we only are doing that if we're punching through the front. Otherwise, you want to keep that, if you're punching through the back, you want to keep that string on the back side. You don't want to pull it over, just like I did. And we're doing the exact same technique here, keeping our needle nice and close so we cover up that blue line, not taking our needle off of the monk's cloth, just kind of keeping it nice and close. And this part's going to get a little tricky, so I'm going to kind of pull back some of those loops that are on my cloud and make sure that I get this blue color right next to the white. right up there so we get plenty of that blue color next to the cloud so it's obvious what's going on. Then we're just going to keep going around the mountain in the same way that we've done the other ones, going all the way around the edges, and then just keep filling in, just like that. Of course, leaving the snow-capped part empty so we can fill that in with our white color. I'm pausing the tutorial just for a quick second to share the punch needle kit giveaway. This is how you can enter, and you can see the description box down below for the official rules. So to finish off, when you are punching from the front, you're going to stick your punch needle in for the last time, turn your work over, and pull the yarn that's inside of the needle, and then we're just going to trim it off. Like that, so that way the end is on the back side of your work. All right, we're moving on to our next mountains. We're using this medium blue color that comes in the kit if you are following along with your kit from Etsy. I'm going to be punching from the front on this part, and we're going to follow just the exact same technique that we used on the other one. All right, so here's where we are on our project. It's time to add a little bit of color here. And so we're gonna start down here and do our little grassy hill. And then next we're gonna go ahead and do our sun. For the grassy hill, we want this more looped texture. So we're gonna be punching from the back and using this nice green color. I'm gonna clean up some of these strings back here just so they don't get in my way. As long as everything feels nice and secure, there's no reason why you can't just go ahead and clip these off. There we go. Then they won't get in my way. All right, so we're just going to start down there on the bottom and go ahead and do our little grassy hill. All right, it's time to move on to the very last part, which is our sun. So I'm using this nice mustard color for that. And then after I do this, I'm going to show you how to finish off your piece. So it's very, very important that we finish off the piece, and we're going to be using a hot glue gun. So at this point, you might want to go ahead and get your hot glue gun warming up as we finish this last little bit, and I'll show you exactly how to finish off your piece so it has a nice complete back. Go ahead and get that hot glue gun warming up while we go ahead and punch the sun from the front of the work. All right, so we've completed our punch needle project and now it's time to go ahead and finish it off. So I'm going to show you how to do that. For this, you're going to need to unscrew the embroidery hoop. And we're going to need another piece of fabric. This is about the same size as the monk's cloth is that you put on there. So if you bought the kit from me, your kit will come with this piece of fabric. But if not, any piece of cotton, any piece of just plain fabric. You don't want anything dark that's going to show up through your monk's cloth, but just something nice and light works perfectly. So just go ahead and center that on the hoop. And then we're going to place our punch needle over the top first. Though, we're going to clean up some of these yarn pieces just to make sure that you won't be able to see them through the, onto the other side of the project. That looks pretty good. Let's do these. All right, so now let's place this right over top. Try to keep it centered there. Any blue that you see, will be able to take a little Q-tip and rub that off with a little bit of water. The pen that I use, I'll put a link to it in the description box, but the ink like rubs off really easily, so no worries there. Like that. And then we're going to go ahead and tighten it here up at the top. And now we're going to pull everything nice and tight again, just like we did before and like we've been doing all throughout. I like to go through first and pull this plain piece of fabric through nice and tight, and then go through and pull the monk. All right, so I like to just check on the front and make sure everything looks right, everything's pulled nice and tight before we move on to this next part. So we're going to start with the plain fabric. We're going to go through and just trim it nice and close to that edge. There, and then we're going to come through with our hot glue gun. We're going to cut this monk's cloth shorter, and then we're going to fold it over and glue it just like that. So that's going to hold that plain piece of fabric in place. All right, so we have the plain white fabric cut. Now we're gonna go through and just trim up the monk's cloth a bit. You want enough space to be able to fold it over like that. So it looks like it's probably about 3/4 of an inch is about right for my embroidery hoop. So just go all the way around the edge. Okay, next is when you're going to need your hot glue gun. All we're going to do here is run some hot glue along the edge and then fold it over just like that. There we go. So just run it along the edge just like that. And then go ahead and fold it over. Be careful because the glue will come through the monk's cloth holes. So just make sure you're careful. So this is what your piece should look like on the back when it's done. You can see it hides all of the unsightly back of the punch needle. And of course, this is the front. I love the different textures by doing the loops on the front for some of the pieces and then punching through the front on some. I just think it adds a lot of interest. So again, if you would like this kit or even just the stencil, you can find them on my Etsy shop at etsy.com/shop/dashinganddainty. Thanks for watching this video today, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.